So hi everyone, welcome to SauceCon. Appreciate you taking a moment to join us virtually here. Today as we talk about containerized testing with Puppeteer. Okay, so I was going to make sure you have, if I kindly ask if you can mute yourself if you haven't done so already. It doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem. We'll get started here and I promise to leave some time for questions at the end. So a quick introduction. Hi, I'm Matt Roski. I'm a director of engineering here at Sauce Labs. I've been here for just over 3 years. We've also got my colleague Christian Broman here, who'll be co-presenting with me today. He's been a senior software engineer at Sauce Labs for close to 6 years now. He's also the maintainer of the WebDriver IO project and the AC rep here for Sauce Labs at W3C. So with that, why don't we get started here by talking about our favorite challenge at Sauce Labs, and that's testing. Last year, GitLab surveyed over 4,000 respondents across industries, roles, and geographies to uncover what's required for software professionals to rapidly innovate. Half those respondents called out testing as their biggest source of delay. We know as we shift left with new tools, new frameworks, and development practices, there's an increased need for developers to test early and often in the software development lifecycle. Similarly, the latest MDN report developed by Mozilla, Google, and Microsoft found the same thing. They surveyed over 28,000 web developers, asking them to rank their most frustrating needs. 4 of the top 10 related to browser compatibility, making it the highest ranked theme, with testing, frameworks, debugging, and documentation rounding out the top 5. Common complaints included insufficient automation, a time-consuming and fragile setup, tooling that's just not compatible, and flaky, non-deterministic tests. Also missing integrations for public cloud services. So there's a myriad of testing options out there. How do you know which ones to choose? As a developer, QE, SDET, or automation engineer, we are all looking for the same thing. We just want a solution that's easy to maintain, it's fast, it's deterministic, and well adopted. We want the benefit of an open source community and all of the support, improvements, and engagement that goes along with it. If only there was a solution. If only there was a better way. What if there was a single command line tool that could simplify setup, speed up test execution, and support new open source automation tools and frameworks? With that, we're proud to announce today the open beta of the Sauce Labs Test Runner Toolkit. It has everything a developer needs to run end-to-end tests. By using a single CLI tool, you'll be able to run the framework of your choice pre-configured for Sauce Labs. This eliminates setup time and lets you focus on writing tests. For those of you using a cloud CI/CD tool, we have a variety of Docker images available to use. Each Docker image contains everything you'll need to get started. Just add your Sauce Labs credentials and your CI pipeline is connected to Sauce. Our example repo has both a GitHub Actions workflow template and a Circle CI config template already available for you to use. Maybe you're using something else, don't worry. Just instantiate the container, execute sauce control run, or download the binary and go from there. After that, you can navigate to saucelabs.com to see not only the test you just ran, but the visual output and your test analytics. Feel free to take a look at failure analysis while you're there. We've designed this workflow to automatically link to the AI ML capabilities called failure analysis that finds common problems across tests from any source. If you've got a flaky API, failure analysis can tell you where it is happening regardless of where the test was executed. Native JavaScript testing is achieved through the combination of Sauce Labs, Jest, and the JavaScript framework of your choice. In the current beta, the toolkit supports Puppeteer and Playwright. This approach gives you the power and expressiveness of Jest with the dashboards, infrastructure, and analytics of Sauce Labs. So what's included in the Test Runner Toolkit? The Test Runner Toolkit is a modular package. It comes with a few things. So we've written the sauce control binary in Go and made it available for all platforms. It's going to fetch pre-built containers With Chrome, Firefox, Chromium already installed and configured to work with multiple automation tools like Google's Puppeteer and Microsoft's Playwright, and frameworks like Jest. But those are only just the beginning. We're going to continually add more to this toolkit. Okay, with that, Christian's been brave enough here to volunteer for a live demo. Good luck, Christian.
Thank you. Let the demo gods be with me. Share my screen. So yeah, I'm excited to demo what is Sauce Labs Test Runner Toolkit about. And I want to start from afresh. You see on the left, I have an empty VS Code project here. And I really want to start from scratch, like everyone else would do. First off, I want to point out some of the requirements that SauceCTL will have. Currently, it is connected to Docker. We use Docker as a containerization framework to allow you to run the tests in a stable environment and to take off the burden of you to set up everything yourself. And that's about it. Just Docker. Once it is installed, you can start using it. One of the first requirements, if you want to test it locally, is to have SauceCTL installed. You can do that by using npm, like I do as a JavaScript engineer. So you can do npm install -g SauceCTL. If you're more familiar with other languages and don't know npm, you just use our curl script. I'm going to run this. It will fetch the latest released package of SauceCTL, and with a little bit permissions, it will install it and have it. I will have it now on my machine. So if I do SauceCTL -v, it prints out the version and the build number. So to get started, I want to connect SauceCTL to my Sauce Labs account because I want to see all my tests, even when I develop them, on the Sauce dashboard, so I can use the ML and analytics capabilities to find the bugs sooner than I have in my project. So to do that, you just need to export the Sauce username and access key, which I already did in my current environment. Next is to just start a project. We created a new command that allows you to bootstrap a project right away from any project that you currently have or any project that you will start building in the future. Calling SauceCTL new will give you a questionnaire, a really short one for now, but it starts with asking you a framework to pick. With the current alpha version, we support Puppeteer and Playwright as the first test runner that we bring on board. As Matt mentioned, we will, looking in the future, of course, will support more than just the two of them. For this demo purpose, I will start with Puppeteer. By pressing enter, SauceCTL will bootstrap a project for me. That means that it will create two directories, .sauce and a .test directory. The sauce directory contains a config file, which contains essential information to be able to run the test. It will have some meta information, as well as lists all the test files. And then it will have a definition of which test one I want to use. As I mentioned before, for this demo, I use Sauce Puppeteer, which is connected to the 3.0.4 version, which was recently released from the Google team. The test is just a simple example that gets you up and going. And if you look closely, to start SauceCTL in your project, you don't need to add any dependencies to it. All you need to have is SauceCTL, and it makes sure that it runs your test in the Sauce Docker container without having you to configure anything. Now, to start the test, all you need to do is call SauceCTL run. You can also define a custom configuration path if you want to, but .sauce/config YAML will be the default. So all you need to do is just start it. It prepares and starts the container and runs the Jest framework together with Puppeteer. And the good thing about this is that you don't need to configure the browser. You don't need to have all the logic to start the browser and tear it down. Everything of that will happen in this image automatically. At the end of the test, it will spit out a link. It links you to the job details page, a view that you're probably already familiar with. It doesn't look much different from the WebDriver test that you usually see. It has a video where you will see up the browser quickly opening and immediately closing down. But on their website now you have, instead of the WebDriver commands, you have a list of tests that have been executed. For my example, it's only one test. And instead of the WebDriver commands, you see Chrome DevTools commands. Puppeteer is using Chrome DevTools as an automation protocol instead of WebDriver, like other frameworks do, like Selenium. Chrome DevTools has a little bit of a different structure. To open a URL, to open a page, it uses the page.navigate command, where you pass in the source schema. And to get a title, you use the runtime call function on to get the document title. We will work on this reporting, but for now, it will print out all these Chrome DevTools command for you to debug the test and see exactly what's happening. And that's about it. As you can see, there's nothing much to do to run the full-fledged framework besides just installing a simple CLI tool. As the next step, I want to show how easy it is to connect it to a CI/CD system. So for my example, I want to use GetUp Actions because it has shown to be really valuable for JavaScript projects. So what I do is I create a .gitup directory with a workflows directory. In there, I just need to create a test.yaml file to write my workflow. I've prepared a little workflow in advance, which is pretty simple and straightforward. It exposes my source username and access key from the secrets that I've stored in the repository. And it creates a workflow for me where I use the source lab source Puppeteer image as a base, which comes with minus source.ctl bundled with the CLI tool. Then I just need to check out my code and run the same source.ctl command that I do locally. That's about it. What I know to do now is to commit everything and push it up to GitHub to have my application tested. So see the empty repository gets some files, and I look into the Actions tab that is provided by GitHub, and it should pick up the commit that I just did automatically for me. And that's the beauty of GitUp Actions. It works really well together with the code repository that you're in, similar to how GitLab is. So while this test is running for me, let's recap what we did here. So in order to run source.ctl, I need to install it either using npm or using Chrome. I then can bootstrap my project by calling source.ctl new. And then all I need to do is calling source.ctl run. Source.ctl then will handle all the Docker work for you. It will pull the Docker container, the test runner, where you have the browser, where you have Puppeteer in, where you have Jest already pre-installed. And it will all run them for you with this simple command. Moving forward, we will build a lot of additional functionality to this source.ctl command. And essentially, it's your interface to the remote browser wherever it's going to be executed, either remote on your machine in CI/CD, or maybe even on a source platform if you want to test more than just Firefox and Chrome, or if you want to test even on mobile. So while the test is now initiating, it will basically run the same command that I did locally now in the CI/CD environment, and will let my project fail or my pull request fail whenever a failure in my tests occur. I can connect these end-to-end tests similar to unit tests and use Jest for unit testing as well as for end-to-end testing. So I see that my pipeline is wrapping up, and it exactly runs the same thing that it ran on your local machine on a CI environment. So you can be ensured that you have the same test results locally versus in CI. Going back to Source Labs, we now can see that all the tests are being automatically aggregated. So we have now here in my config file, I had the build release being like that. And the build is now showing up and showing this example test aggregates, and I can go to failure analysis now to see where the tests are failing in order to fix and improve them. That's all about the SauceETL test runner toolkit. I invite you to check out the page where we have all the instructions to get you up and going quickly, and where you can also post issues if you have questions, or if you want to post like feature enhancements. We want to hear any feature requests that are out there. With that, I want to give it back to you, Matt.
All right, thanks, Christian. That was great. Let me see if I get the slides back up here. Okay, where was I? So why don't we talk about, what's next? Let's go over some of the ideas for our upcoming enhancements. So the roadmap is rich with plans for supporting additional open source frameworks. Our goal here is to bring you a magical test experience based on our years of platform and runtime experience. We'll add support to reach through and leverage the full power of the Sauce Labs platform to provide cross-platform and mobile testing. You can expect a rich authoring experience that'll help reduce the time it takes to write tests. And we'll also provide intelligent test execution through machine learning that can prioritize testing only what's necessary and most likely to fail based on past performance. This will greatly reduce the time it takes to complete tests and find bugs fast. So you can get started today. As Christian mentioned earlier, all you need is Sauce Labs account to have Docker installed. Go to the Sauce Control repo at the following link on the page here, where you can find our install and setup instructions. We've worked hard to ensure that the time it takes to go from install to working code is incredibly short, typically under a minute. We're excited to release this as an open beta for everyone to try today as an open source tool to give back to the community. We want to hear from you, our existing customers and new prospects alike. Feel free, as Christian mentioned, to post issues on the GitHub repo so we can continue to iterate on the test runner toolkit with feedback from you. And with that, I think we'll take some questions here. Let me take a quick look here.
So I have one. Since this use DevTools commands to execute tests, can this be used for cross-browser, cross-platform testing? With Puppeteer and Playwright, you can only test browsers that are based on the Chrome DevTools protocol. And this will not change until the Web Developer Protocol will be enhanced in a way that it provides the capabilities that are similar to Chrome DevTools for the cross-platform. The working group at W3C are currently working on that to make the next iteration of the Web Developer Protocol happen. And we're working with all the browser vendors, including Safari, Microsoft, Firefox, and Chrome, to enhance the Web Developer Protocol and make it up to standard for current developers. So if you want to test more than just Firefox and Chrome, you need to pick a different automation tool that also allows that. So as Matt mentioned, we will add more support for more frameworks. That will include, for instance, Selenium. And with Selenium, you have true cross-browser support that you can use to test locally in the container or on our platform.
So I saw another question here about free tier and where we can get pricing information. So we do have a free tier. We have a free trial, 14 days. You can get started in minutes. You just go to saucelabs.com/sign up, provide your information there, and you're good to go for 14 days. And it's open to everybody. So that's all you need is an account. Again, either free tier or paid subscription, and this is going to work for you.
I can go next. Any highlighted compared to Selenium Grid, which we're trying now but have issues with? So the idea of SauceETL will be to allow you to have a tool that allows you to run tests locally, but also to spin up tests in the cloud. So instead of running on your local machine using Docker, we will make it happen that it will push the test to the Sauce platform where they will be run in parallel for you, and we will report back, so that you have just one interface, and with the Source Labs platform, have a full grid solution automatically at your hands. That is currently not working as we are in the alpha phase, but with the next iteration of the tool, we will make this happen. And that allows you to run any framework in a parallelized fashion.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff. We're definitely interested in jumping into that one, right? Making sure that you guys can use everything we have to offer, not only cross-platform, mobile, just everything we've got.
Another question I see is, will the Selenium Test Run Toolkit work with Selenium-based tests with Java? And the answer is yes. Right now, we have Puppeteer and Playwright-based JavaScript-based frameworks together with Jest as a test framework. But moving on, we will integrate more frameworks. We will definitely include the variety of language flavors that Selenium provides in a preconfigured environment for you, so that you don't have to fight with all these configurations yourself. You will end up just writing Java files, for instance, for your tests. That will be the future, but we have to now add slowly new capabilities and new frameworks that you can use. But essentially, yes, it will be possible to use Java with Selenium.
So I can tee you up for another one here, Christian. Curious your thoughts on this here. Can someone install their own arbitrary packages into our Docker images or create their own? What would be your best advice for someone that will want to do something like that?
I think we want to make, even though the test framework and the framework image will have some opinion on how tests should be run, but we want to be open to how your needs and what you need to run your tests in. So of course, we will provide you with an ability to install additional packages whenever you need it, to configure it in a way that your test will just run. We will also make sure that you can build your own test runner framework. So you don't need to necessarily rely on our frameworks, but just build your own that you can open source. And we're looking forward to create a community with people that have built these test runners that are free to use and easy to configure.
So there's one about how often we'll update our images, the versions at Puppeteer and Playwright. That's a hard one to give any sort of commitment to. We're on stage here and being recorded and et cetera. I know the team wouldn't want me to make any commitments, but of course, our goal is going to be to stay up to date with all the latest versions of these frameworks, and as new ones come out, add those to the fold as well too. So right now we've got the latest, I believe. Is it Playwright is version 1.0, and I saw like just a couple days ago they went to 1.01. So we'll get to that very quickly. Here's one for you, Christian. What version of Node do we have currently in the container?
The current container use Node version 12, which will be supported for, I think, the next 2 or 3 years. But we are thinking about providing more flavors, like different Node versions per test runner image, so that you can pick the version that you like to.
Well, here's one I'll gladly take. So someone asked, can it use Sauce Connect to reach back inside of our VPN? So this is the interesting thing about it, right? Is you're running it wherever you decide to run it, on your laptop, in your CI, and wherever that happens to be. So there'll be no need for Sauce Connect. You'll be running the test in your site, so you won't have to deal with that. And that also brings it, that much closer to the site under test, which will have great, incredible performance improvements. After that, we reach back out to Sauce Labs to gather up the data and do the report analytics and provide, our saucelabs.com interface around testing.
Yeah, I can extend to that. The beauty of this approach is, and one of the goals is that the tests are always run close to the target environment, close to your application. So that would be, if you run saucetl locally, it will use Docker wherever you run it. And since you're already in the same network, you don't need Sauce Connect. However, once we get to the point where we allow running tests on our platform to access parallel execution, saucetl would take care of anything that is required to connect you to your application. So it will do anything it needs to do to be able to test your application.
So here's one for you, Christian. How would this work for custom frameworks built on top of, say, WebDriver IO, where a customer may have their own commands or wrappers involved?
So for custom frameworks, if you use a normal WebDriver IO setup, this will work out of the box once we provide the WebDriver IO test runner. You can still add your custom commands, your TypeScript definitions, or your page objects. It will be all uploaded or all run in the Docker container for you. If you have a slightly different setup of WebDriver IO, you can either modify the existing test runner image with opportunities that we will provide you, or as I mentioned before, provide your own test runner image. We will release documentation about how this will work moving on, but our goal is to try to be as agnostic as possible. So if you have something that you want to run, you should be able to do that.
So question about CI/CD. Is it just for Circle CI and Jenkins? So right now we've provided example configuration and templates for GitHub Actions and Circle CI. We're going to look at new ones in the future. I can imagine providing some example configurations to get it working with Jenkins and likely GitLab in the future. Maybe others as we see the need and get the feedback from customers.
Yeah, running tests on Docker images has become almost the standard for continuous integration and delivery. And every CI system that supports containers today will be easily to adapt moving on. So things like GitLab, Circle CI, Travis, Jenkins, they will be all supported, and we will release documentation for that soon.
So here's one, Christian. Maybe you can expand upon what do you mean by building your own test runner framework, and would we have any open source reference implementation available now or in the future for something like that?
Yeah. So as Matt Weinman, our the chief of product, has mentioned in his presentation, this will everyone will be able to. We'll build an open source community around this. So we want everyone to be able to build their own test runner, and we will open source the current Puppeteer and Playwright runner to GitHub soon, once we have cleaned up some code, and then everyone can look into it and see how things are working under the hood. And we will also work on making this very simple, so you can just create your own Docker image and simple, like GitUp Actions, create your own plugin to the system that you can use and that you can share with other people in the world that can build on top of this. We want this to be a really collaborative effort that everyone can add to existing test runners and build a really simple test system for end-to-end testing.
Maybe you could describe our plans for open sourcing test runner code.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we would do this shortly after SauceCon. As we were preparing everything, we need to clean up some things and make sure that the projects are, collaborative friendly, and that everyone feels welcome and can, help us build out these test runners immediately. So look out to our Sauce Labs GitHub organization, and we will also announce it via social media and other channels.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks. So there's another question about AWS, CI/CD question about AWS code build and code pipeline. So we don't have any sort of reference material for that today, but it would be, another one of the tools that we would add to our roadmap to try to figure out, which ones customers need most and start working our way through that list.
Yeah, all these tools, we are heavily thinking about test authoring, and all these tools that are currently out there, like GitHub Workspaces and VS Code Live, those are all great things that we want to make sure that we can leverage for end-to-end testing and test integration. So yeah, we have that in mind, and we are thinking hard about this, how we can integrate this.
I think that's it. I think that's it, to be honest.
Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. over Twitter or on the Slack channels that we have provided for SauceCon. I'm hanging out there, and enjoy the next sessions.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.